After months of ongoing issues and multiple delays, Boeing made the decision to bring the Starliner back to Earth without astronauts on board. They successfully did just that. The spacecraft landed safely, and at first glance, everything seemed to have gone smoothly. Many people even congratulated Boeing, with some suggesting they could have safely returned astronauts aboard Starliner. But we were wrong. Despite the seemingly flawless landing, it became clear that there were serious problems during the return mission, including multiple thruster failures, navigation system glitches, and overheating, casting doubt on whether the spacecraft is truly ready for crewed missions. While the capsule managed to land successfully at White Sands, New Mexico, NASA's decision not to carry astronauts aboard due to the risks proved to be wise. One of the main problems during Starliner's return was the overheating of its thrusters, which posed a significant risk, especially if astronauts had been aboard. The overheating occurred because of the design of the doghouse, a compartment that holds the thrusters and traps heat, acting like a thermal insulator. This caused higher than expected temperatures, which led to thruster malfunctions during re-entry. Some of the thrusters failed, and while the spacecraft was able to compensate using backup thrusters, this wouldn't be ideal with humans on board. If astronauts were inside, the overheating could have been life-threatening. Thrusters are critical for the deorbit burn, a maneuver that ensures the spacecraft re-enters the atmosphere at the correct angle. If the thrusters malfunction during this phase, the spacecraft could lose control, leading to a dangerous descent. Additionally, the overheating could damage internal components or even raise temperatures inside the capsule, making the environment unsafe for the crew. NASA engineers noted that during tests, some thrusters experienced temperatures so high that the Teflon seals expanded, blocking the propellant flow and reducing thrust power. Typically, these seals are designed to work under precise conditions, and once temperatures rise above safe levels, likely around 200 degrees Celsius or higher, their performance becomes unpredictable. Even during the return mission, several thrusters underperformed due to this overheating issue, prompting NASA to focus on resolving it for future flights. The complications didn't stop there. Earlier in the mission, helium leaks were detected, raising concerns among NASA officials about the overall performance of Starliner. Fortunately, engineers managed to stabilize the system, though it remains a point of investigation. Despite these issues, NASA and Boeing have expressed confidence in Starliner's potential, but the road ahead is challenging. The spacecraft has been delayed multiple times due to similar problems, and NASA is closely evaluating whether Starliner is ready for a crewed mission. Currently, they are debating whether to proceed with a manned mission, Starliner 1, or conduct further test flights. Looking ahead, Boeing is committed to fixing these issues, especially the thrusters and helium leaks. They are working on upgrades that may improve the reliability of future missions, but these fixes will take time. NASA has already delayed the first official crewed mission, originally scheduled for 2024. In the bigger picture, this series of technical failures highlights the ongoing challenges that Boeing faces with the Starliner program. Boeing has already incurred significant costs, with losses exceeding $1.6 billion, and some analysts are even speculating about the company's long-term involvement in crewed spaceflight. However, NASA continues to support Boeing as they work through these challenges, hoping to eventually certify Starliner for future missions. Meanwhile, SpaceX continues to push the limits. Their latest milestone might seem like something out of a science fiction movie. They managed to launch 2 rockets back-to-back within a single hour. This feat is especially impressive considering the typical space launch, which usually involves extensive preparations with hundreds of engineers working for months or even years. The back-to-back launches were also a response to the recent FAA grounding of the Falcon 9 rocket. The FAA had temporarily halted Falcon 9 launches following a landing mishap on August 28, where a booster failed during a powered landing attempt and was destroyed after tipping over on the drone ship. This incident marked the first unsuccessful landing since 2021, breaking a streak of 267 successful landings. The FAA required an investigation into the incident but allowed launches to resume shortly after, provided that SpaceX met all licensing requirements. The first of the recent back-to-back launches took off from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying 21 Starlink satellites into orbit. This was closely followed by another launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, which also deployed 21 satellites, including several with direct-to-cell capabilities. A key highlight of these missions was the booster used in the California launch, which marked its 9th successful flight and landing. This particular booster, known as B-1058, has had an illustrious career supporting a variety of missions, including multiple Starlink deployments and rideshare missions involving both commercial and classified payloads. On its 14th flight, B-1058 made history by becoming the first booster to be recovered 14 times, underscoring SpaceX's advancements in booster reusability. This isn't SpaceX's only achievement in 2024. The company has been stepping up its game in many areas. By mid-year, SpaceX had conducted a total of 87 launches, which included 84 Falcon 9 missions, 1 Falcon Heavy mission, and 2 Starship test flights. This brought their launch frequency to an impressive average of 1 launch every 2.8 days, maintaining a success rate of 98.8%. SpaceX's Starship program has also seen significant advancements, with multiple test flights aimed at refining and demonstrating capabilities crucial for future deep space missions. The company is gearing up for a robust schedule that aligns with Elon Musk's long-term vision of launching 1,000 rockets per year. On September 7, 2024, Musk revealed on Twitter that SpaceX is set to launch its first uncrewed Starship missions to Mars in 2 years. This mission is scheduled to align with the next Earth-Mars transfer window, expected to occur around 2026. The primary objective of these uncrewed missions is to test the reliability of Starship landings on the Martian surface, which is a critical step toward achieving human exploration of the Red Planet. If these initial tests succeed, Musk plans to launch the first crewed missions just 2 years later, by 2028. Achieving these milestones will require not only advanced spacecraft, but also numerous preparatory launches. To support these Mars missions, SpaceX will rely heavily on multiple variants of Starship, including a dedicated tanker variant designed specifically for in-orbit refueling. For every crewed mission, several tanker launches will be necessary to transfer fuel in space, allowing Starship to reach Mars and return to Earth. The exact number of tanker launches is still under debate, but estimates suggest that each crewed mission may require as many as 8 to 14 refueling launches, depending on the destination and payload size. It's important to understand that SpaceX's upcoming mission to Mars will rely on the Starship rocket, which, while demonstrating major progress, is still undergoing critical tests to become fully operational for interplanetary missions. Starship has completed 4 test flights so far, each providing invaluable data and moving SpaceX closer to its Mars ambitions. The first test flight of Starship occurred in April 2023. This flight marked a major step for SpaceX, as it was the first fully integrated flight of the Starship spacecraft and its massive Super Heavy booster. However, this initial attempt was cut short when the 2 stages failed to separate after about 4 minutes of flight, leading to the spacecraft's destruction. SpaceX learned from this and attempted the second test flight in November 2023. This flight doubled the time in the air, lasting approximately 8 minutes and successfully achieving stage separation. Unfortunately, the spacecraft broke apart before re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, leaving SpaceX to continue refining Starship's durability during the re-entry process. The third test flight, conducted in March 2024, lasts nearly 50 minutes. This flight achieved several new milestones, including the opening of Starship's payload door while in space and conducting a liquid oxygen transfer demonstration. However, the vehicle broke apart during re-entry at an altitude of around 65 kilometers, indicating that further refinement is needed before Starship can achieve safe returns from space. The fourth test flight of SpaceX's Starship took place on June 6, 2024, marking significant progress despite some challenges. The launch saw 32 of the 33 Raptor engines on the Super Heavy booster ignite successfully, and the booster achieved a soft splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico, though only 12 of its planned 13 engines fired during the landing burn. Starship itself performed well, entering a lengthy coast phase and enduring re-entry plasma buildup. While it suffered visible damage during re-entry, the spacecraft managed to make it further than the previous flight and performed a landing burn over the Indian Ocean, though it was not fully recovered. While SpaceX is making history with its groundbreaking Starship rocket, Boeing's Starliner project has been filled with setbacks and complications. Boeing's Starliner mission faced numerous delays and technical issues before it even left the ground. On June 5, 2024, NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams launched aboard Starliner for what was supposed to be a brief 8-day mission as part of a long overdue crew flight test. Unfortunately, during the mission, the spacecraft encountered helium leaks and thruster failures, forcing NASA to extend the mission unexpectedly. Despite engineers' best efforts to troubleshoot the problem, the decision was made not to risk the astronauts' lives. Consequently, NASA arranged for SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft to return Wilmore and Williams to the International Space Station, ISS, to await the next opportunity for return. After Boeing's struggles with Starliner, Wilmore and Williams are now expected to remain aboard the ISS until 2025, when another Crew Dragon spacecraft can retrieve them and return them home. This situation highlights the growing disparity between SpaceX and Boeing in the commercial spaceflight sector, with SpaceX pulling ahead in terms of both technical capability and reliability. Starliner has faced problems from the start. During its first uncrewed test flight in 2019, Boeing suffered multiple technical failures. Most notably, a software glitch caused Starliner to enter the wrong orbit, preventing it from reaching the ISS. A subsequent test flight in 2022 encountered additional issues, resulting in Boeing investing over $1 billion to repair the spacecraft. Even so, Starliner continues to struggle with design flaws and technical setbacks. NASA remains cautiously optimistic, but is placing more faith in SpaceX's Crew Dragon spacecraft for future crewed missions. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next space update.